Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is the Surge Effect, and this podcast, well, it'll probably have an effect on you. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Surge Effect. In this episode of the Surge Effect, we're going to be talking a little bit about Pierre Poilievre. A lot of people don't know about Pierre Poilievre here in Canada and what he's all about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play like a little conglomeration of videos. I'm going to mash them kind of together one after another. It's going to be hopefully a fairly straightforward, quick podcast. And just to kind of let everyone know that, you know, they're on the fence about Pierre, or they don't really know about Pierre or what he's done in the past. But we're going to talk a little bit as well through some of these videos as I play them. Before we get going, I always like to talk about two of my sponsors. Number one is Love My Legs, Owen Sound, Grey Bruce. Click on their link below. Head on over to their Facebook page. Look at all the ladies' leggings that they have to offer. Numerous colors, all different styles. Check them out. You'd be pleasantly surprised what they have. Second one is Heshirtssheshirts Plus. Same thing. Click on the link below. Head on over to their Facebook page and their web page and look at all the different clothing they have to offer and some of the new laser products that they have lasered. I also like to throw in a couple of things. My BCAAs, I love this stuff. Branched chain amino acids. It's great for hydration, good for the body. Drink them all the time. They're fantastic. And I also like to talk about my Rode mic, my Rode PodMic. It's beautiful. Hooks up to my Rodecaster Pro 2. Head on over to the link. Click below. Head on over to Amazon and grab yours today. They are fantastic. All right. So, without further ado, let's get at today's podcast. First off, I'd like to take a moment to congratulate Dan Bongino. Donald Trump put this out last night, which was the 23rd of February. Great news for law enforcement in America. Justice Dan Bongino, a man of incredible love, passion for his country, has just been named the next deputy director of the FBI by the man who will be the best ever director, Kash Patel. Dan has a master's degree in psychology from CUNY and an MBA from Penn State. He is a member of the New York Police Department, New York's finest, he says, a highly respected special agent with the United States Secret Service, and is now one of the most successful podcasters in the country. Something he is willing to and prepared to give up in order to serve. Working with our great new United States Attorney Pam Bondi and Director Kash Patel, fairness, justice, law, and order will be brought back to America. And quickly, congratulations to Dan Bongino. Now, I've been watching Dan Bongino for a while. I like Dan. He's a straight shooter. He's a patriot, loves his country, has served, has done his time. But I've listened to him for years now, and his podcast is great. And like I said, his straightforward attitude and straight shooter attitude, it's awesome. So, of course, there he is there. Dan Bongino announced has been praised by social media users, with many celebrating the appointment. So, once again, congratulations, Dan. You'll do well. You're awesome. All right, so let's get back to Canada here. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on in our country here. We have, of course, our leadership race is coming up. I'm going to talk about the lady that just actually was kicked out of the race the other day, and that was Ruby Dalla. She was kicked out of the Liberal leadership race after extremely serious violations from the party, they say. Personally, that was, of course, February 21st. Personally, I believe she was ousted because they don't want somebody else running against who their choice is, who is Mark Carney. This gentleman here, he was the first person that was kicked out of the Liberal Party for the race. Liberal leadership contender Chandra Arya says that the party told him he would not be able to run. And so there's two people down, right? So who's that leave? That leaves Chrystia Freeland, who's our Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister, and Christina Gould, and, of course, Mark Carney of the three that are, of course, running for the Liberal Party. So I'm going to show you a couple of videos here. This is actually Pierre Poilievre asking Chrystia Freeland some questions in a committee. This is before Pierre Poilievre was actually the opposition leader, so this is going back a few years. Of course, you can see they're all wearing masks there. That's probably back during COVID. Anyway, have a look at this.
What is the total amount of public and private debt in Canada today?
We are going to give a full report on Canada's public finances on Tuesday, but I am happy to say that the net worth of Canadian households is up 22% from the beginning of the crisis, and that in Q3 the household savings rate was 4%.
The question is
was 11%
of
compared to 3.4% in.
Sorry, Minister. Just for the interpreters, it is very difficult, the crosstalk that happens when you interject and not allow just the finishing, at least of a sentence. So allow.
So this guy, this chairman here, of course, is a Liberal, but you have to understand how our politics work here in Canada. The same they do in the States, right? When they have these committees, they're trying to talk. There's people, there's stenographers and stuff trying to take down information. So if there's a lot of back and forth, they can't quite hear. So they always say this, but the problem is, Chrystia Freeland can't even answer a simple question, and she's running to be the Prime Minister of Canada, and she can't answer a simple question about Canada's debt, and she's the Finance Minister. Let that sink in.
The Minister, just to conclude her remarks.
Well, it was the question was, what is the total debt level, public and private, in Canada today? Just looking for that particular number.
That's it.
And I am happy to say that on Tuesday, just a few days from now, we're going to give a full public accounting. But I am pleased also to remind the member that the savings rate of Canadians was 11% in the third quarter, up from 3.4% between 2010 and 2019.
What's the debt?
Question for Mr. Leswick. Does he know the total debt, public and private, that exists in Canada today?
I believe that the rule is that the questions go to me here.
Is he a witness? He is a witness.
I
just thought he might have the number.
Witnesses do
questions
have
can be posed to him. Okay, Nick,
yes.
go ahead if you wish.
Yeah, she doesn't even know the rules of the committee, and she wants to be Prime Minister once again.
I apologize to the member. I don't have that number at my fingertips.
That's a pretty important number. I'm amazed that a Minister of Finance and a senior finance official would not know how much debt there is in Canada today.
So that's Pierre Poilievre asking them a simple question, and she is the Finance Minister, and that other fellas is her senior, and they can't answer a simple question in regards to Canada's debt and what it is, and she wants to be the Prime Minister of this country. That, to me, is quite shocking. So here is Pierre Poilievre in our house. He's asking Christina Gould some questions and vice versa. So here we go.
Conservatives would have liked to be working today to counter the doubling of housing costs this Prime Minister has caused, or the record food price inflation, which has been 36% higher in Canada than in the U.S. But unfortunately, the Prime Minister has paralyzed Parliament by refusing your ruling directing his government to turn over evidence in the $400 million green slush fund scandal that the Auditor General says involves 186 conflicts of interest. Wow. With the chair of the fund found guilty, what has he got to hide?
The Honourable Leader of the Government.
Christina Gould here is about to speak. She's running for Prime Minister of Canada, and she's like the whisperer. She's like the House whisperer. I watch these proceedings every day when they're in our house, but right now we're in prorogation and our government shut down, yet Trudeau's doing all these business dealings, but we're supposed to be shut down. Anyway, she whispers when she answers a question, and that's no good. You don't whisper when you're answering a question.
In the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is not being truthful with Canadians. It is the RCMP Commissioner himself who said the RCMP's ability to receive and use information obtained through this production order and under the compulsory powers afforded by the Auditor General Act in the course of a criminal investigation could give rise to concerns under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It is therefore highly unlikely that any information obtained by the RCMP under the motion where privacy interests exist could be used to support a criminal prosecution or further a criminal investigation. Mr. Speaker, let's get this.
The Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
This is a $400 million scandal involving Liberal appointees giving millions of dollars to their own companies, and the minister's story is now changing. Yep. Last week, she claimed that the government had given documents to the RCMP. This week, they claim that if they gave documents to the RCMP, it would cause the Charter of Rights to come crashing down. It sounds like there's a new story every week to justify paralyzing Parliament to cover up the truth. What is in these documents about this $400 million scandal that the Prime Minister is so afraid of?
And that's exactly right. And at that particular time, this past year, our government wasn't prorogated like Trudeau's just done now, but it was closed down because the Liberals wouldn't give papers to the RCMP. Another $400 million worth of tax dollars, our money in Canada. And for that, Parliament was shut down. All right, so there's Christina Gould. She's running for Prime Minister, and she's a whisperer, and she is not the pick for Canada, 100%. So here's Mark Carney being interviewed by Pierre Poilievre back in 2021. Listen to this.
You support the Prime Minister's decision to veto the Northern Gateway pipeline, Mr. Carney?
I understand the veto of the Northern Gateway pipeline.
You support it?
Given both environmental and commercial reasons.
Do you support it?
I think it was sensible. I wasn't involved in the decision, but I think it was the right decision.
And yet your company has invested billions of dollars in oil companies in both Brazil and the UAE to buy pipelines.
In 2017, Brookfield acquired NTS, a Brazilian-regulated natural gas pipeline, for over $5 billion.
Today's $20.7 billion US deal represents the single largest energy infrastructure investment in the region. And in fact, it is the biggest in the world so far.
You bought billions of dollars of pipe.
That could have been Canada. Think about that. That could have been Canada. But Carney decided not to do that, give that information to Trudeau, and they don't have a pipeline in Canada.
Lines as a company in the last 5 years. Do you support those investments?
Mr. Poilievre, there is a global energy system, and one of the issues, I'm trying to explain a bit of how the economy works. One of the
Thank you so much.
It may help. One of the issues for
Carney
this committee is thinking about a sustainable transition.
Do you support it?
Where is Canada's role in those as energy transitions from fossil fuels to renewables? And in different jurisdictions, into different geography, it matters.
What you're saying is you oppose pipelines in Canada, but you support them in the UAE and in Brazil. That's what you've actually said.
There are specific.
That's your double standard.
It is not a double standard.
It's a double
It is a double
standard.
standard.
No, it's not.
You make billions of dollars off foreign pipelines, and you shut them down here at home, putting our people out of work.
That you are a representative of the Canadian people, and one of your responsibilities, including at this committee,
is to fight for Canadian jobs,
and
not foreign jobs like you.
Exactly, to fight for Canadian jobs, and the types of Canadian jobs that are durable.
To fight for Canadian jobs, not foreign jobs like you. You got to remember, this is before Pierre Poilievre even became the opposition leader. So let that sink in. This is when he was on committees, and he was fighting for Canadian people's tax dollars, and he was fighting for Canadian jobs. Very, very important. Here's another little clip. This is of Mark Carney. Not good. This guy is bad news for Canada.
Mark Carney is back from Europe.
Speaking as a European.
To finish what he started. As Justin Trudeau's...
He says speaking as a European. Speaking as a European.
Economic advisor, he's been pushing
a steady increase in the price of carbon
on you for years. Now he's planning to hit you with
effectively a shadow carbon price
after the election, and that will cost you even more because he thinks
carbon prices have been applied sparingly. They've been set far too low.
You sneaky carbon tax Carney. He's just like Justin.
He says that they're set too low, far too low. We need to pay more. Yeah, our Canadian dollars, we need to pay more. So do you think that the Liberals deserve another chance? Do you think they deserve another chance? So listen to this little interview here the other day.
How would you describe the threat that these cartels pose to Canadians and Canadian national security?
It's organized crime, right? And so organized crime, no matter what shape it takes, is a threat to us, and we're seeing an increase in it. We're also seeing an increase in gun violence. We're seeing an increase in gang violence, and it's being fueled by drug money. And so we are being affected in a way we've not previously seen. The problems are moving north. The gun problem is moving north. The fentanyl problem exists here. And I would say that 10, 15, 20 years ago, we would not have used the word cartel with regard to activity in Canada, but it's very prevalent now. It's becoming a problem.
This is Canada. In Canada, cartel and crime is through the roof. We had a robbery in our own hometown here just the other night. Guy went in at gunpoint and robbed one of the stores. Like, what's this world coming to? Like, it's unbelievable. All right, so here's another little clip of Pierre Poilievre being interviewed. Here we go.
One of the first people that I heard, and definitely the loudest voice, warning about what you called just inflation or the consequences of printing money.
Yes.
You came on my podcast back in 2021 and warned about it.
Paying for new governmental programs with an endless supply of printed money, then you will see runaway hyperinflation that could massively destabilize our economy.
So tell me, Pierre, how did you predict that that was going to happen, and walk us through what exactly did happen with the printing of money?
Well, it's a very simple mathematical problem that we've known about for millennia, and it's the correlation between the growth in the money supply as a share of GDP and the cost of things. And if you look at Milton Friedman's amazing tomb, it's like a big brick of the monetary history of the United States. He puts in graphs of countries around the world, and he can show like a near perfect correlation between the growth in the money supply per unit of economic output and the inflation rate. And so what happens is you have the same number of goods and services, but more money chasing those goods and services, you get inflation. So what I saw happening in 2020, 2021, 2022 was that the central bank was buying government debt and effectively creating additional cash. And the result was that our money supply grew by about $500 billion or about 30% during.
Okay, so it's basically economics 101, right? You have too many dollars chasing too fewer goods. You keep printing out money, doesn't matter if it's in Canada, the United States, Venezuela, doesn't matter where. You print money, you dump it in a system, you have too many dollars chasing too fewer goods. You have inflation. It's been going around forever. It's the way it works. All right, listen to what Pierre Poilievre has to say in regards to immigration.
It's very simple. If you break our laws when you're here as a visitor, we kick you out. I don't know how anybody can disagree with that. If someone shows up in our country claiming to be a student or a temporary worker, and they start firebombing coffee shops, bakeries, synagogues, or any other place, then they need to be immediately arrested and they need to be deported. If someone is obviously a citizen, they should be prosecuted through our legal system and put in prison here in Canada for those sorts of crimes. But there's no excuse for keeping people in this country who are visitors here on a temporary visa or permit if they're breaking our laws.
What about people who are here illegally? What about people who have entered the country illegally or who have come to the country, applied for asylum claim, had that rejected, but remain in Canada? Would you deport those people?
Yes, I mean that's supposed to be the policy right now. I mean, if someone comes in, makes a false asylum claim, it gets rejected, they're supposed to leave today. The challenge that we're going to face is that under 9 years of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals' open border policies, we have now millions of people whose permits are going to expire over the next sort of 2 years. And if they don't leave, we have a very hard time, first of all, even knowing they're still here, finding them, and then carrying out a deportation. There are some among them that we do want to keep. They could be a master's graduate in computer engineering that has a six-figure job in Kitchener-Waterloo, started a family, integrated, speaks the language. This is someone we want to keep.
Okay, so basically what he's saying is what they're doing in the States too, right? People come into this country, immigrants come into this country, they commit crime, they get deported. They come in here illegally, then same thing. You find them, round them up, they get deported. Here's what Pierre has to say about a little bit about Canada and bringing it home.
Demands. 1, cancel the planned quadrupling of the carbon tax. Yes, Trudeau wants to quadruple the tax. That will drive up heat, gas, and groceries. Because when you tax the farmer who makes the food and the trucker who ships the food, you tax all who buy the food. We will have a referendum on the carbon tax, the forthcoming carbon tax election, where Canadians will decide on that issue. And we all agree that is the issue on which we will vote in the next election. Justin Trudeau has said so. And so he and I agree that there will be a carbon tax election. In the meantime, I asked Justin Trudeau to show some compassion for families who can't eat, heat, or house themselves. Cancel your plans to quadruple the tax. Put it on hold. And in the election, Canadians will decide. I will win that election, and I will axe the tax. But for God's sake, stop ripping off Canadians in the meantime. Second, balance the budget to bring home lower inflation and interest rates. We know now that inflation is the result of Trudeau's money printing deficits and the resulting interest rate hikes. We have $900 billion of mortgages that are going to renew in the next 3 years alone. That's 2/3 of all mortgages. There will be a massive mortgage crisis if rates do not come down. Obviously the Bank of Canada sets the rates, but they've been clear that the deficits are pushing those rates higher. Do the compassionate thing. Let people keep their homes. Balance their budgets. Balance the budget to bring down interest rates and inflation. And 3, let's build homes, not photo ops and bureaucracy. We don't need Justin Trudeau and Sean Fraser going on a circus, putting on hard hats, and standing in front of construction sites of projects that would have been built without them. We need a direct formula that incentivizes cities to get out of the way and permit 15% more home building per year or lose federal money. Those that beat the target should get a building bonus. We should require every federally funded transit station be surrounded by housing. We should require CMHC approve housing projects in 60 days, not in 2 years, or the executives should be fired.
So there's some of his thoughts in regards to what he wants to accomplish as well. And here's another little clip about him talking about being about Canada first.
We'll be a proud nation that bows and kneels before no one, with free and independent people, entrepreneurs, innovators, explorers, workers, people who are afraid of nothing and take on any challenge, people who lock arms and unite under one flag. Canada first, Canada last, Canada always. Let's bring it home.
I've always said that from day one. Day one. Canada first. Canada first. Here's another little clip of Pierre talking about barriers.
Right now, we have tariff barriers between our provinces that are almost as big as the one that President Trump is threatening. That's why we sell twice as much to the Americans as we do to ourselves. This is madness, my friends. Within 30 days of becoming Prime Minister, I will bring together the premiers with the aim to remove the hundreds of pages of carve-outs and exemptions in the Canada Free Trade Agreement that slow or stop goods from moving from province to province. And to get the deal done, this will boost our GDP. Billions of dollars of extra tax revenue will result not from higher rates, but from a bigger, freer economy. And I will use the extra federal revenue from free trade to pay a bonus to each province that voluntarily knocks down barriers and opens up its market to fellow Canadians.
Tell me that's not a great idea, right? Working together as Canadians. Here's another little clip here of a reporter asked him about Elon Musk and working with Elon Musk.
Mr. Poilievre, Elon Musk seems to be a fan of yours. He tweeted a 100% emoji recently in response to a tweet that says, Pierre Poilievre is extremely impressive. He should be Canada's next leader. The sooner, the better. I'm wondering what you think of this, and do you accept his endorsement?
Well, first of all, my 3-year-old has just told me that he wants to go to Mars. I guess Mr. Musk would be the right guy to put him in touch with. The fact is that it'd be nice if we could convince Mr. Musk to open some of his factories here in Canada, create some jobs, high-paying jobs for our people. Wouldn't it be nice if we were producing more without corporate welfare, without corporate subsidies like the Liberals favor? We had more of that production here in Canada. I think that would be fantastic.
So once again, right, I've always said that billionaires or millionaires, they create jobs. When was the last poor person you knew that created a job? Who was he? That's right, they don't exist. Wealthy people create jobs. Elon Musk is a self-made billionaire. Everything he has, he created from his brain. He created it, and he made money doing it. That literally is the American dream. That's a Canadian dream. That's a capitalist dream. That's what people are supposed to do in capitalism. Create a business from nothing and make a fortune doing it. It's that simple. And that's what he wants to do. So here's another little clip of Pierre Poilievre being asked a question by a reporter.
This is why this man is so popular in Canada. Doesn't waste time in getting back to this reporter.
The two leading candidates in the Liberal leadership race have both suggested that they'll take the consumer carbon piece out.
You believe them?
Tax out. Well, it doesn't matter what I think. You're the one who wants to be prime minister.
You've got carbon tax Christie. I call her that because she was the finance minister who not only kept the carbon tax but raised it by 160%.
But now she's saying she'd take it off.
Oh, yes, we should believe her now. Right before a leadership vote and an election, she claims that she's been wrong for the last 9 years. She even bragged that she raised the carbon tax during an inflation crisis. And then you have carbon tax Carney, who's been Trudeau's economic advisor for the last 4 years. He complained the carbon tax wasn't high enough. And here's what they're going to do. They're going to pause they'll pause the carbon tax right before the election. And they'll say, forget all about the last 9 years. And then if they're reelected, they'll hike it higher than ever before.
Exactly. It's exactly what they'll do. That's just common sense. It's exactly what they'll do. So here's another little clip of, once again, Pierre Poilievre talking, answering questions, answering a question.
Doubled in the last 9 years. The current Prime Minister has added more debt than all prior Prime Ministers combined in the preceding 150 years. That means that we have now spent $54.1 billion on debt interest. You know how much will you pay in GST? $54.1 billion. So you can take comfort in knowing that every single time you make a purchase and see the GST, that money is not going to roads or hospitals or soldiers. It is going to pay interest on debt. It is going to disproportionately wealthy lenders who profit off of our debt. That has also grown the money supply by about 32% in the last 3 years, which is 8 times faster than the growth of our real economy. In other words, money is growing 8 times faster than the stuff that money buys. More money buying fewer goods equals higher prices. That's inflation. My common sense plan is to bring in a dollar for dollar law that will require each minister in my government find $1 of savings for every new dollar of spending, so that we can cap government costs while the economy and the taxpayer catches up with the cost of paying for it. We'll eliminate wasteful spending in order to balance the budget and bring down inflation, interest rates, and income taxes. We need to cut income taxes to make work pay again. Right now we're punishing work. And I met a guy today, he earned a bonus, and he said it all got chewed up by taxes. But why would he earn a bonus? There's no incentive to work hard when you're getting punished for it. We're going to lower the earned income tax so work pays off, and you bring home more.
Exactly. Bring home more money. There's a novel idea, bringing home more money. All right, here's another little clip of Pierre talking to people again.
Our friendship with the Americans is not based on any one politician. It is based on our centuries-long history of trade, of friendship, of common defense, of fighting on the battlefield, arms locked together against common enemies. We will continue to build that friendship with the people of the United States. But let me be clear, we are an independent and we are a proud nation. And we will come through this an independent, and a proud sovereign nation. We will not back down. We will not cease. We will continue to march forward as proud Canadians. Thank you.
Exactly. Canada first. Proud Canadians. Boom. Exactly. Proud Canadians. All right. Here's one last thing I'm going to pop up here about Pierre. Hopefully the compilation I've thrown together, it's kind of giving you a bit of an idea who he's about, what he's about.
First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for coming out to speak with us and not at us, and to learn from us rather than lecture us. I think that we can all appreciate that kind of interaction. My question is, I mean, you've got my vote for sure, 100%. I've been telling all my friends about you and trying to steer them towards it because I really do appreciate your common sense approach and your platform, which I don't know why some people don't believe it exists. I hear you talk about it in question period every day, but it seems to be very numbers driven, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's good to have a guy that can balance a checkbook in power, but looking to the future, the issues that really scare me are like social and cultural issues. It seems that we're, divided so heavily along these cultural lines that just sort of happen to the very edges fit into our political landscape. How do you plan to communicate the platform that you're bringing forward to the country in such a way that you can unite the cultural aspects of the issues that are coming your way? Because I feel as if no matter what you do, no matter how good your plan is, we're going to be racist and bigots if we support the Conservative Party. And I don't see a way forward for the country if you can't get ahead of that and unite everybody around the cultural issues along with the economic issues, which you have a very firm and solid grasp on.
How do we put the pieces back together? The answer is freedom. Now, here's what I mean by that. When Wilfrid Laurier was asked what is Canada's nationality 100 years ago, he couldn't answer based on the way most national leaders could. If you had been in Europe, you would have answered based on ethnicity or religion. From France, you would have said French. In England, you would have said English. But in Canada, we were already mixed up. We had obviously the First Peoples. We had French, English. We had Scots, Irish, Germans. We even had Asian peoples who were here at that time. And so he couldn't answer based on race or gender or ideology or any of those things. He said, Canada is free and freedom is its nationality. And that's why Protestants and Catholics gouged each other's eyes out for centuries in Europe. And then they came to Canada and lived peacefully. Why? Because Catholics were able to worship freely, Protestants were able to worship freely. And the times in our history where we have made mistakes and where we have done wrong has been when the government has become too powerful and has taken away the freedom and the autonomy of the people. In every instance, all the historical wrongs in our history are the result of government using excessive force and power over the population. But by restoring freedom, we allow each individual, each group, each family, each community to live the lives that they choose to live. And in so doing, there's no reason to fight because everyone can do what they believe right. My purpose in politics is not to take power, but to give it back. To have a small government with big citizens. To have a government, if I were to start a new political party from scratch, it would be called the Mind Your Own Damn Business Party. Yes. Where the government does its job, which is to provide roads and schools and hospitals and national security, protect the environment, and then let people live their lives, make their own decisions, think their own thoughts, spend their own money, worship God in their own way, express their own values with their own words. I am not here to run your life. I'm not even here to run a country. I'm here to run a government that does a few things well rather than a lot of things poorly and allows free people to live and prosper and fulfill their full potential. That is my purpose. Let's make it happen. Let's bring it home.
Simple. Isn't that simple? Freedom. And just to add to what he said there towards the end about the government interfering, right, with freedom. When we had the trucker convoy in Ottawa, people were peacefully protesting, and the government pulled the Emergency Act, sent in the goon squad, and basically literally trampled our Canadian citizens, our Canadian brothers and sisters with horses. That is wrong on so many levels. I can't even imagine to tell you. It'd be here for hours. But I'm going to show you a little just of Canadians at this rally in Ottawa, just for about 30 seconds or so. This goes on for like hours. But yet, the Trudeau Liberal government called in the Goon Squad and the Emergency Act and did what they did to our fellow Canadians. And there's people still in the system right now, Chris Barber, Tamara Leach, still in our system after 5 years, 4 years and change, almost 5, in the court system over a misdemeanor. A misdemeanor. Think about that. Look up what misdemeanor means. Millions and millions of Canadian tax dollars have been spent to try to persecute these people who were peaceful. They told everyone to be peaceful. Those are our fellow Canadian brothers and sisters up in Ottawa doing their thing. I think it's awesome. Damn near brings a tear to your eye when you're watching it because of freedom. They did that for everyone, and the world woke up and they saw what they did. Everyone talked about it. Everyone around this globe talked about it. People from Australia to New Zealand to the United States, of course, and of course Canada, because Canadians stood up. They stood up for what was right and what was just. Very important. Anyway, everyone, that's today's podcast. Thank you very much for watching my podcast. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. It helps with the algorithm. So please subscribe, like, hit the little bell, and you'll be notified when you subscribe for any new videos that I post. I can be found, of course, on all the different social media stuff. You can find me anywhere. Before I sign off, I just like to say, hey, you can make your comments too in the bottom. Click on the comment section and let me know what you think. Both the Liberals, the PCs, who do you like? Like Chrystia Freeland, is she one of your favorites? Is Christina Gould one of your faves? Mark Carney one of your favorites? Or Pierre Poilievre, of course, what do you think of Pierre Poilievre so far? I mean, let me know. Drop it in the comments. Before I sign off, I always like to sign off with one thing about life, about how tough life is. Life is tough. And people think that life is easy. Well, it's not easy. Sometimes people make it easy or make it look easy, but it's not. People are going through stuff. Everyone goes through something, and everyone's going through something now. I'm sure that you know people that are going through things. All you can do is be there to support them and to help them the best you can. But it is their journey. But what they have to do is keep moving forward. You got to tell them that. Sometimes it's hard to listen to, but when you're a little bit older and you're wiser, you understand about life and how tough it really is. But you got to keep moving forward. That's what it's all about. You'll be better off for it. Don't look behind you, because yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, and today is the present. That's why they call it a gift. And I'd like to say, once again, thanks for listening to my podcast. And until next time, everyone, cheers.